The sky above Zerathia was painted in shades of pink and gold as the twin suns began their descent. The palace gardens stretched endlessly, a blend of alien flora and floating crystal sculptures that shimmered softly in the evening light. Princess-y. Lyra soared above the gardens, her wings extended wide, catching the warm currents that rose from the palace grounds. Every movement was precise, graceful, and controlled, a display of her training, her strength, and her defiance of the ordinary. Even in the calm of the evening, Lyra felt restless. Something had been troubling her for days, a whisper of discontent that refused to fade. The palace corridors were quiet, yet she could feel the weight of tradition pressing down on her like the thick walls around her chambers. She had always known Zerathia was a world of rules, of duties, and of expectations, but none of it had seemed personal, until now. The source of her unease became clear when she overheard her mother, Queen Seraphine, speaking with the royal council in the How chambers below. The word struck Lyra like a thunderbolt. She must marry him. The queen's voice was firm but calm. The human alliance is the only way to secure our future. Without it, Zerathia risks war. Lyra's heart skipped a beat. Humans. The species she had been taught to consider primitive, unpredictable, and reckless. Her mind raced with questions, doubts, and above all, anger. Without hesitation, she folded her wings and glided down to the balcony, her sharp eyes scanning the council chamber below. Her body landed silently on the polished platform, but her presence was immediately felt. The queen's words had already reached her ears, and the princess's sharp intake of breath caught the attention of everyone in the room. Lyra stormed through the double doors, her voice echoing with both fear and fury. "Mom, why do I have to wed a human?" she demanded, her wings quivering slightly with tension. The chamber fell silent. Courtiers and council members shifted uneasily, sensing the storm that had entered their midst. Queen Seraphine, seated on her elevated throne, looked at her daughter calmly. Her eyes were deep, wise, and filled with the weight of responsibility. "Lyra," the queen said softly yet firmly, "sit and listen. This is not just about you. This is about Zerathia. The human coalition is our only hope to prevent a war that could destroy our world." Lyra's wings drooped and she shook her head. "I don't understand, Mother. Humans are so different. How can they help us? How can I marry someone I have never met? It feels wrong." Her voice broke slightly, betraying her frustration and fear. Queen Seraphine rose from her throne, her presence commanding yet gentle. She descended the steps and approached Lyra, stopping just short of touching her. "I know you do not see their worth, Lyra. You have been raised to trust only what we know, what we understand. But humans, they are different. Strong in ways we are not, clever in ways we cannot always anticipate. They have survived challenges that would break even the strongest of our kind." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "So, you want me to marry someone who could be weak? Someone who might fail us?" The queen shook her head. "Not weak, Lyra. Adaptable, courageous, unpredictable. And sometimes, unpredictability is what saves worlds." Lyra stepped back, her mind spinning. She wanted to argue, to rebel, to deny the whole notion of this arranged marriage, but something in her mother's tone made her pause. Queen Seraphine was not speaking of duty alone. She spoke of survival, of foresight, of choices that could decide the fate of countless lives. Still, the princess's pride would not allow her to accept the idea without resistance. "But I am a warrior. I am trained in combat, in strategy. Why must I depend on someone from a species that barely understands the ways of the stars?" Queen Seraphine's eyes softened. "Because, my daughter, strength alone does not win wars. Wisdom, courage, and the ability to adapt do. Humans have these qualities. You will see in time that they are more capable than many give them credit for." Lyra's mind whirled. She had always believed in Zerathia's superiority, in the invincibility of her people. And yet now, she was being asked to trust a human, to accept an alliance she could not fully understand. Fear and uncertainty gnawed at her. Her closest friend and assistant, Torin, stepped forward cautiously. "Princess, maybe it is worth meeting him, seeing him, understanding his ways. You do not have to accept him yet, but at least know who he is." Lyra turned sharply to him, her eyes blazing. "And if I refuse? If I simply do not go along with this?" Torin hesitated, unsure. "Then there could be consequences, not just for you, but for Zarathia itself." Lyra felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders, heavier than any armor she had ever worn. She looked out at the gardens below, the sun painting the sky in brilliant shades. Somewhere in that beauty was the path she was expected to follow, yet her heart screamed against it. "Fine," she said finally, her voice low but firm. "I will see this human, but only to prove to myself that this alliance is a mistake. If I am to marry him, I want to see his worth with my own eyes, not hear it from anyone else." Queen Seraphine inclined her head slightly, a shadow of a smile crossing her lips. "That is all I ask, Lyra. Judge fairly. And remember, the fate of Zarathia rests not on anger but on understanding." Lyra's mind was a whirlwind as she left the council chamber. She moved swiftly through the corridors, passing portraits of past queens and warriors, each one a reminder of the legacy she carried. She had always known duty was a part of life, but this was something different. She paused at the edge of the palace balcony, looking out at the city below. The domes and spires gleamed in the last light of the twin suns, reflecting centuries of Zarathi culture and achievement. And yet, all of it could be destroyed if she made the wrong choice. Her thoughts were interrupted by a soft chime at her communicator. Torin's voice came through, calm but insistent. "Princess, the human delegation has landed. The transport ships are in the eastern dock. You may wish to see them arriving before they reach the palace." Lyra took a deep breath, her wings fluttering slightly as she balanced herself on the balcony railing. "Very well," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "Show me the humans, Torin. I want to see what we are dealing with." As the transport ships descended, their sleek metallic hulls contrasting with the natural beauty of Zarathia, Lyra felt a mixture of curiosity, fear, and something unfamiliar: anticipation. For the first time, the idea of humans did not fill her with disdain alone. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was more to them than she had been told. She straightened, her wings stretching wide. Whatever awaited her, she would face it head-on. A princess of Zarathia never backed down, and Lyra was determined to see this human for herself, judge him, test him, and perhaps in doing so, discover a new path for her people. The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the palace gardens. Princess Lyra's silhouette stood firm against the glow of the evening, a symbol of strength, defiance, and curiosity. The future of Zarathia, and the fate of an unexpected alliance, was about to begin. The sky above the eastern dock of Zarathia's capital was a swirl of color as the human transport ships descended, their sleek metallic bodies gleaming against the fading light of the twin suns. The city's residents paused to watch, a mix of curiosity and unease painting their faces. Humans had been known across the stars, but their unpredictability made many uneasy. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of her private viewing chamber, wings folded neatly behind her. Her eyes narrowed as she studied the humans emerging from the transport bay. They moved with precision, yet there was an unfamiliar energy in their steps, a mixture of confidence and adaptability that Lyra could not immediately understand. Torin, standing at her side, whispered, "Princess, the humans are disciplined. You may be surprised at their efficiency." Lyra did not respond immediately. Her mind was focused on one question: which of these humans was chosen to be her future consort? She had heard of him only by name: Captain Jason Hayes, a human soldier, known for his calm demeanor, strategic mind, and courage. If he was as competent as the report suggested, he might not be entirely useless. The humans reached the landing platform, and a figure stepped forward. Jason's tall frame, straight posture, and calm gaze immediately set him apart from the others. He wore the uniform of his rank, simple but functional, designed for movement and efficiency rather than ornamentation. His eyes scanned the surroundings, taking in the alien architecture, the hovering platforms, and the shimmering energy fields that kept Zarathia safe. Lyra's first instinct was to scoff. This human, standing so calmly amid the alien spectacle, seemed unaware of the power surrounding him. She decided to test him immediately. Folding her wings, she stepped forward, letting herself be seen. "Captain Jason Hayes," she called out, her voice echoing across the landing platform. "I am Princess Lyra of Zarathia. I assume you know why you are here?" Jason's eyes met hers without hesitation. "Princess Lyra," he said, his voice steady and respectful. "Yes, I understand my role. I am here to serve the interests of both our peoples. I hope to meet your expectations." Lyra's wings twitched in irritation. His calmness irritated her. It was too composed, too polite. She had expected hesitation, fear, or at least surprise. Instead, he met her gaze with unflinching confidence. "You hope?" she said, stepping closer, her eyes challenging. "Do you understand the responsibilities you may be taking on? You are not merely representing your species. You are stepping into the life of Zarathia's royal family. One mistake could destroy more than just your reputation." Jason nodded. "I understand, and I will do my best to learn and to act appropriately." Lyra narrowed her eyes further. "Appropriate? You speak as if this is a simple matter. Do you realize that humans are considered unpredictable, dangerous even?" Jason remained calm. "I am aware of how humans are viewed by others, Princess. But I am also aware that actions speak louder than assumptions. I cannot control what others think, but I can control my own choices." Lyra paused, momentarily taken aback. His words were simple, yet they carried a clarity and honesty she had not expected. She had spent her life observing Zarathi nobles, warriors, and politicians. Many had hidden agendas, clever phrases, or subtle manipulations. Jason's straightforwardness was unusual. She decided to test him further. "We will see if your words mean anything," she said. "Follow me." Lyra led Jason through a series of training exercises in the palace gardens. The course was designed for Zarathi warriors, filled with obstacles that tested agility, speed, and coordination. Lyra expected him to struggle, to falter, and perhaps to prove her suspicions right. Jason followed without hesitation. He moved with careful precision, analyzing each obstacle before taking action. When he leapt across a series of floating platforms, his timing was exact. When he navigated a swinging energy beam, his balance was steady. Lyra observed him carefully, her skepticism slowly giving way to curiosity. "You are competent," she admitted, her voice reluctant. "But this is simple training. It does not test your character, your judgment, or your adaptability in real situations." Jason nodded. "I am aware. But even simple exercises reveal patterns, strengths, weaknesses, and how someone reacts under pressure. I am learning, Princess, and I am observing you as well." Lyra's wings fluttered slightly. She was not used to being observed with such careful attention. Most people, even those trained like her, acted out of instinct or pride. Jason acted deliberately, analyzing, calculating, and adjusting. After hours of training, Lyra led him to the palace archives, a vast chamber filled with holographic records, historical accounts, and strategic simulations. "Here," she said, gesturing to a console, "is a simulation of a Zarathi military challenge. It is meant to test decision-making under pressure. Let us see how you perform." Jason activated the simulation, and a holographic battlefield appeared. Lyra took control of a Zarathi unit, while Jason maneuvered human forces in parallel. They faced waves of alien invaders in scenarios that required split-second decisions, coordination, and adaptability. At first, Lyra tried to outmaneuver him, confident that the simulation would reveal his weaknesses, but Jason adapted quickly. He anticipated her strategies, adjusted to unexpected variables, and found solutions that Lyra had not considered. She frowned. How are you able to think so quickly? Jason smiled faintly. Training, experience, and observation. I pay attention, princess, and I do not underestimate my opponent. Lyra's frown softened, though only slightly. She had never encountered someone who could challenge her intellect and skill so naturally. Her pride urged her to resist admiration, yet she could not ignore the fact that he was exceptional in his own way. Hours passed, and the sun disappeared entirely below the horizon. The palace gardens were bathed in the soft glow of energy fields, casting long shadows across the training grounds. Lyra and Jason stood facing each other, both slightly exhausted but still alert. You are, not like I expected, Lyra admitted, her voice quieter now. I expected someone clumsy, someone who relied on brute force. But you adapt. You think. Jason inclined his head respectfully. I am glad to meet your expectations. In some way, princess. But I hope we can continue learning from each other. There is much to understand about both our peoples. Lyra's wings twitched, a subtle sign of her inner conflict. She wanted to dismiss him, to reject the notion of an arranged alliance, yet her own observations made it impossible. This human was more than she had anticipated. He was capable, respectful, and in ways she had not expected, impressive. As they walked back to the palace, Lyra found herself thinking differently. Humans were not merely primitive creatures, as Zarathi history often claimed. They had strengths, perspectives, and resilience that were foreign yet intriguing. Torin, observing from a short distance, whispered to her, Princess, it seems you are beginning to see the truth. Lyra remained silent, her mind filled with questions. Was it possible that this alliance could work, not only politically but personally? Could she trust someone so different from herself? And most importantly, could she learn to respect and perhaps even value what humans had to offer? The human delegation was now settled in the palace quarters, and the night fell quietly over Zarathia. Stars sparkled in the sky, mirrored by the glowing city below. Lyra looked out from her chamber, thinking of the day's events. Captain Jason Hayes was no ordinary human. He was someone who could challenge her, teach her, and perhaps even change the way she thought about her duty, her people, and herself. She felt a mixture of frustration, curiosity, and something she could not quite name. The journey ahead was uncertain, filled with tests, challenges, and unexpected discoveries. But for the first time, Princess Lyra felt a spark of anticipation. The alliance was more than a political necessity. It was a path that could reshape the future of Zarathia and its people. And somehow, she knew that this human, Jason Hayes, was a part of that path in ways she had yet to understand. As she lay down to rest that night, Lyra thought of the twin suns and the endless stars beyond Zarathia's atmosphere. Somewhere out there, humans and Zarathi might find common ground, shared goals, and perhaps even mutual respect. She closed her eyes, the uncertainty of the future mingling with a quiet, cautious hope. Tomorrow, the real challenges would begin, and Lyra knew that she would have to face them head-on, with courage, intelligence, and an open mind. Captain Jason Hayes was only the beginning. The morning light bathed the palace gardens in a soft golden hue. Princess Lyra stretched her wings and stepped onto the balcony, the fresh air filling her lungs. Today was the day the humans would be tested further. The council had arranged a series of survival trials, not just to measure their physical abilities, but to see how they could adapt, think, and survive in unpredictable environments. Lyra's heart raced with anticipation. She had spent the previous day observing Captain Jason Hayes and his human delegation, and while she had been cautiously impressed, she wanted to see if their skills extended beyond simulations and controlled exercises. Today would be the real measure of their worth. Torin approached quietly, his eyes flicking toward the distant training grounds. Princess, the humans are ready. Captain Hayes seems eager to prove himself further. Lyra nodded. Good. We will begin with the Forest of Mirrors. It is one of the most challenging terrains in Zerathia. Even our best warriors sometimes lose their way within minutes. Let us see how these humans fare. The Forest of Mirrors was a vast expanse of towering crystal trees, their surfaces reflecting light in unpredictable patterns. The paths twisted and turned, sometimes looping back on themselves, and illusions were common. Only those with keen perception and strong mental focus could navigate it successfully. Lyra led Jason and his team to the forest entrance. She observed them carefully, noting the way each human adjusted to the alien environment. Jason's gaze was steady, scanning the distorted reflections and shifting landscapes with a calculated focus. "Captain Hayes," Lyra called, her voice firm, "this will test more than your physical skills. Your perception, adaptability, and decision-making will be challenged. Do you understand?" Jason nodded without hesitation. "I understand, Princess. We are ready." Lyra gestured, and the humans entered the forest first. She followed her, wings slightly extended to maintain balance as they navigated the uneven terrain. The forest was deceptive. Crystalline branches created optical illusions, making paths appear longer or shorter than they were. Reflections multiplied, and it became difficult to distinguish between reality and illusion. Many humans faltered, stumbling over hidden routes or taking wrong turns. But Jason moved with steady confidence, pausing to analyze each reflection, each shift in light, and then choosing his path carefully. Lyra watched him closely, her curiosity growing. "You are cautious," she noted, "but not hesitant. You calculate without delay." Jason glanced at her briefly. "It is better to proceed carefully than to rush blindly, Princess. Precision and observation are as important as speed." Hours passed as they delved deeper into the forest. Lyra realized that she had underestimated the humans' adaptability. Even when obstacles became more challenging, Jason and his team adjusted, working together to overcome each test. At one point, a section of the forest opened into a wide clearing, but the ground was unstable. Crystalline tiles shifted under weight, threatening to collapse. Lyra expected hesitation, even fear, from Jason. Instead, he paused, assessed the pattern of the tiles, and directed his team with clear instructions. Step by step, they crossed the clearing, every movement precise, coordinated, and safe. Lyra could not help but feel a spark of respect. This human, whom she had thought incapable of understanding the complexities of Zerathia, had proven himself to be not only capable but remarkably perceptive. As they reached the center of the forest, the final challenge awaited: the Hall of Echoes. This was a natural amphitheater formed by enormous crystal formations, where sound could distort perception and confuse even the most skilled warriors. Only those with focus and inner discipline could navigate without losing balance or direction. Lyra's wings extended instinctively as they entered. The sound of their footsteps echoed unnaturally, disorienting her at first. She had expected the humans to falter here, but Jason moved calmly, closing his eyes briefly to center himself before stepping forward. His movements were deliberate, his timing exact. Lyra followed, her eyes darting to the reflections, her body tensed as she anticipated sudden shifts. She could feel the pressure of the challenge not just on herself, but on Jason and his team, and yet they moved steadily, unfazed by the illusions, relying on observation, reasoning, and teamwork. After what felt like hours, they reached the heart of the hall, where a crystal pedestal awaited. Upon it was a small device that emitted a low hum, a test of sensory perception and intelligence. Lyra stepped forward first, expecting Jason to hesitate, but he approached calmly, studying the device before interacting with it. Within moments, he had analyzed the mechanism and activated it correctly, completing the trial. Lyra's wings drooped slightly in disbelief. She had not anticipated such competence. "I underestimated you, Captain Hayes," she admitted, her voice quiet but sincere. Jason bowed his head slightly. "Thank you, Princess. I am here to learn, to serve, and to understand your people. I did not wish to disappoint." Lyra studied him carefully. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, the calm confidence in his posture. This was not arrogance. It was respect for the challenge and for her as a leader. As they emerged from the forest, the humans looked tired but triumphant. Lyra observed them closely, noticing the way they supported each other, communicated clearly, and adapted to unexpected difficulties. These were not reckless beings, as Zarathi history often suggested. These were capable, intelligent, and resilient individuals, traits that could not be taught, only demonstrated. Torin approached her quietly. "Princess, do you see it now? Humans are more than what you have been told. Captain Hayes is not only strong, but adaptable, clever, and disciplined. Perhaps this alliance may have value." Lyra nodded slowly, her mind racing. "I see it, Torin. But understanding their capabilities is one thing. Trusting them, that is another." The day continued with further trials, each designed to test different aspects of skill and character. Humans demonstrated leadership, quick thinking, and cooperation. They faced challenges that required creative problem-solving, and time and again, Jason proved himself as a capable leader. Lyra found herself observing him not with skepticism, but with cautious curiosity. His presence was commanding, yet humble. His decisions were thoughtful, and his respect for both the trials and the people around him was evident. During a short break, Lyra approached him directly. "Captain Hayes," she began, her wings folding neatly behind her, "today you have proven something remarkable, not just skill, but judgment, resilience, and leadership. I did not expect this." Jason smiled faintly. "Thank you, Princess. I am honored by your words, but I must admit I am learning as much from you as you are from me. Your skills, discipline, and strength are extraordinary." Lyra felt a slight blush rise on her cheeks, a feeling she rarely experienced. Few had ever spoken to her in such a way, acknowledging her abilities while maintaining respect. She realized that trust was beginning to form, slowly but undeniably. As the trials concluded, the humans were declared successful. Lyra addressed them formally, her tone firm but respectful. "Captain Hayes, and members of the human delegation, today you have shown qualities that are rare, even among Zarathi warriors. Your adaptability, intelligence, and teamwork are impressive. I hope this is the beginning of mutual understanding between our peoples." Jason bowed deeply. "Princess Lyra, your acknowledgement means a great deal. I hope this is the beginning of friendship and cooperation, not just duty." Lyra's wings twitched, a subtle sign of her inner acknowledgement. She had expected to find flaws, weaknesses, and reasons to dismiss them. Instead, she found competence, integrity, and a willingness to learn. These humans were not just allies. They could be partners in ways she had not imagined. As the sun set behind the twin suns' horizon, casting a soft orange glow over the palace gardens, Lyra felt a shift within herself. The day's trials had not only tested the humans, they had tested her assumptions, her prejudices, and her understanding of duty. For the first time, she considered that perhaps marrying a human was not a burden to bear, but an opportunity to learn, grow, and protect her people in ways that Zarathia had never imagined. As she watched Jason and his team settle into their quarters, Lyra realized that tomorrow would bring new challenges. There would be political discussions, strategy meetings, and further tests of loyalty and intelligence. But for the first time, she felt not fear, but cautious anticipation. Perhaps the human alliance could work. Perhaps Captain Jason Hayes was not only capable of surviving these trials, but of standing beside her as a true partner in the days to come. The stars began to twinkle above Zarathia, reflecting in the crystalline towers and floating platforms of the capital. Princess Lyra looked up, wings folded, eyes thoughtful. The future was uncertain, but for the first time it was also promising. The morning air was cool, carrying a soft metallic tang from the crystal towers of Zarathia's capital. Princess Lyra walked briskly through the palace corridors, her wings tucked tightly behind her. Her mind was a whirl of thoughts. Yesterday's trials had proven the humans capable, but today, the stakes were higher. A sudden commotion drew her attention. Couriers ran past, carrying messages marked with the royal seal. Lyra's advisor, Torin, met her halfway through the corridor, his usual calm demeanor replaced with urgency. "Princess," Torin said, lowering his voice. "Reports have come in from the outer sectors. A rogue faction is attempting to disrupt the peace talks with neighboring planets. They have already sabotaged a few trading stations." Lyra's brow furrowed. "This is serious. How soon can we confirm the threat?" "Scouts report that the faction is moving towards Zarathia's border within the next 12 hours. If they reach the capital, the political consequences could be catastrophic. The Council is preparing defenses, but they request your presence." Lyra's heart quickened. This was the moment where capability, trust, and leadership would be tested, not just hers, but also Captain Jason Hayes. She had been observing him closely, and though she trusted his skills in controlled trials, real danger was unpredictable. "Prepare the human delegation immediately," Lyra ordered. "Captain Hayes must be briefed. I want him to lead a reconnaissance mission with a few of our elite warriors. I need to see how well he performs under actual pressure." Torin hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "It will be done, Princess. But this is more than a test, it is real danger. I hope you understand the risks." Lyra's wings twitched, a subtle display of tension. "I understand, Torin, and if Captain Hayes proves himself here, I will know he is worthy of both trust and alliance." Within an hour, Jason and his team were briefed. Lyra stood before them in the council chamber, her presence commanding attention. "Captain Hayes," she began, her voice steady, "you have proven yourself in controlled trials. Now, you face an unpredictable threat. A rogue faction is moving towards Zarathia's borders. Your mission is to scout their movements, gather intelligence, and report back. You will not act alone. My elite warriors will accompany you, but the decisions during the mission rest with you. Can you do this?" Jason met her gaze directly. "Princess Lyra, I understand the mission. I will proceed carefully and make the best decisions for our people. I will not fail." Lyra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. You leave immediately. Torin will provide the necessary coordinates and resources." The journey to the border was tense. Jason's team moved quickly but quietly, avoiding detection. Lyra observed from a distance, noting how he coordinated movements, assessed terrain, and maintained clear communication with both humans and Zarathi warriors. Even in unfamiliar landscapes, he remained calm, thoughtful, and decisive. Hours passed, and the rogue faction's movements became clearer. They were heavily armed, but disorganized. Jason noticed patterns in their patrols, weak points in their formation, and potential traps. He relayed this information carefully, ensuring the team stayed safe while gathering maximum intelligence. At one point, the group reached a narrow canyon. Sensors indicated that a rogue squad had set up an ambush. Jason paused, analyzing the topography and calculating the best approach. "We need to split into 2 units, he instructed. "One team will create a diversion here," he pointed to the canyon entrance, "while the other, including myself, moves along the ridge to observe their command center. Timing is critical. We cannot be detected." Lyra watched him silently. His strategy was precise, his calculations thoughtful. The Zarathi warriors, initially skeptical of humans, followed his lead without question. The diversion worked perfectly. While one team caused controlled chaos, drawing the rogues' attention, Jason and his observation unit moved quietly along the ridge. He used a combination of hand signals and subtle gestures to communicate. Lyra noted how naturally he adapted to the environment, blending human instincts with careful strategy. They reached the command center undetected. Jason's team scanned and recorded the rogue faction's operations, identifying leaders, weapons caches, and weak points. All the information was critical for the capital's defense. However, as they prepared to leave, a sudden alarm rang out. One of the rogue patrols had spotted the diversion team and raised the alarm. Jason didn't panic. Instead, He quickly analyzed the situation. We need to retreat to the canyon exit. Use the narrow path on the right. It is less visible from their vantage point. Move quickly but carefully. The team followed his orders flawlessly. Lyra observed the retreat from a nearby ridge, noting how Jason remained calm under pressure. Even when some patrols began chasing them, he directed movements with precision, ensuring no one was left behind. By the time they returned to the capital, the sun was beginning to set. Jason reported all gathered intelligence, outlining the rogue faction's weaknesses and recommending strategies for defense. The council was impressed, and even Lyra found herself silently acknowledging his competence. Later, in a quieter moment, Lyra approached him in the palace courtyard. The wind played with her hair and her wings rested lightly on her back. "Captain Hayes," she began, "today you did more than survive. You led, protected, and observed with clarity. I am impressed." Jason smiled faintly. "Thank you, Princess. I only did what was necessary. Your warriors were skilled and trusted my instructions. Together, we achieved the mission." Lyra studied him carefully, realizing how much trust had begun to form, not just in his skills, but in his character. This trust was unusual for her. Humans had often been considered unpredictable and weak compared to Zarathi standards, yet Jason had proven otherwise. "Your actions today," she said quietly, "have shown me that humans may be capable allies, and perhaps more than I imagined." Jason's gaze met hers. "I am honored, Princess Lyra. I hope to continue proving that my people can be trusted, not just in trials but in real challenges." Lyra's wings twitched slightly, an unspoken acknowledgement. She had spent her life following rules, traditions, and expectations, but today she saw potential beyond what she had been told. Humans, with their adaptability, courage, and intelligence, could be more than allies. They could be partners in facing Zarathia's future. As the night settled over the capital, Lyra reflected on the day's events. The rogue faction had been a real test, not only for Jason and his team, but for herself. She realized that her judgments, based on fear and tradition, had been challenged. The humans had earned a place of respect and perhaps a place in her life. Tomorrow would bring more discussions, more planning, and more decisions. But for the first time, Princess Lyra felt a sense of anticipation, a feeling that the future, uncertain as it was, could hold promise. And in that quiet moment, she allowed herself to imagine a world where humans and Zarathi could stand together, not as rulers and subjects, but as partners. The palace was alive with energy. Banners swayed gently in the wind and crystal lanterns sparkled in the sunlight, reflecting thousands of colors across the grand courtyard. Today was not only the day of celebration but also the day of decisions that would shape the future of Zarathia and humanity. Princess Lyra's wedding was to take place and all eyes were on her. Lyra walked through the corridors with measured steps, her wings folded neatly behind her. Her mind was calm but alert. The events of the past days had tested not just the humans but herself. She had witnessed courage, intelligence, and leadership in ways she had never expected. Captain Jason Hayes had proven himself again and again, not only through controlled trials but in real danger when rogue factions threatened her world. Torin approached her quietly. "Princess, the council has finalized preparations. All allies and dignitaries are assembled. The time has come." Lyra nodded. "Thank you, Torin. I will be ready." She took a deep breath, feeling a rare mixture of anticipation and serenity. Today, she was not just a princess fulfilling tradition. She was a leader making a choice based on respect, understanding, and trust. In the courtyard, Jason waited. He stood tall, his posture calm and assured. Though he was far from his home planet, he seemed entirely at ease, his focus entirely on the ceremony and the responsibilities that awaited him. When his eyes met Lyra's, there was a quiet acknowledgement. No words were needed. They had faced trials, navigated dangers, and now stood at the threshold of partnership. The crowd fell silent as Lyra stepped into the open courtyard. Her gown shimmered with subtle patterns reflecting Zarathia's crystalline structures. her wings elegantly folded, showing her strength and grace. The humans and Zarathi alike watched in awe. This was not just a wedding. It was a statement of unity, a bond between two worlds. Lyra approached Jason, her steps steady. He offered a respectful bow. She returned it with a slight nod, then extended her hand. Jason took it carefully, aware of its significance, both as a gesture of respect and commitment. The High Chancellor stepped forward to address the assembly. Today we witness the union of Princess Lyra of Zarathia and Captain Jason Hayes of Earth. This marriage symbolizes not only the joining of two individuals, but also the collaboration of two peoples. Through courage, understanding, and mutual respect, we take a step toward a future of peace and shared prosperity. Lyra's gaze met Jason's. In that moment, the past trials, the challenges, and even the moments of doubt seemed distant. She saw the human not as an outsider but as a partner, someone who had earned her trust, respect, and admiration. Jason spoke quietly, so only Lyra could hear. "Princess, I promise to stand beside you, not as a subject but as an ally, a protector and a friend. I will honor your people and your world, and together we will face whatever comes." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest, a feeling that was both unfamiliar and comforting. "Captain Hayes, I trust you. Not because tradition demands it, but because you have shown me your strength, your judgment, and your heart. Today, I choose this path, and I choose you." The High Chancellor raised his hands to commence the ceremony. The air was filled with a mixture of Zarathia's native melodies and soft earth harmonics, blending in a harmony that symbolized the union of two worlds. As vows were exchanged, Lyra and Jason's voices were clear, firm, and sincere. They promised mutual respect, loyalty, and understanding. They pledged to face challenges together, to honor both their peoples, and to work toward a future where Zarathia and Earth could cooperate and prosper side by side. The crowd erupted in applause as the ceremony concluded. Zarathi citizens cheered, humans clapped, and the message was clear. The union represented hope, courage, and a bond beyond worlds. After the ceremony, the couple moved through the courtyard, greeting dignitaries and citizens. Lyra noticed the way people looked at Jason, not with doubt but with respect. He had proven himself through action, and now his place beside her was accepted, celebrated even. As the evening sun cast a golden glow over the palace, Lyra and Jason found a moment of solitude on a balcony overlooking the city. The wind whispered gently, carrying the sense of alien flora and distant seas. Lyra turned to Jason, her eyes reflecting both relief and happiness. "Today was," she began, pausing, searching for the right words. "Beyond anything I expected, not just the ceremony but everything leading up to it. You have earned not only my trust but my respect." Jason smiled gently. "And you have earned mine, Princess. Your courage, wisdom, and leadership. I could not imagine a better partner, not just in life, but in purpose." Lyra's wings flexed lightly, a subtle expression of emotion. "We have faced challenges together, humans and Zarathi, and we have overcome them. I believe this is only the beginning." Jason nodded. "The beginning of something greater. Together we can face anything: political unrest, threats from factions, or even challenges from our own doubts. Together." They stood in silence for a moment, gazing at the horizon where the twin suns began to dip below the crystalline towers. The city sparkled below, alive with life and celebration. "Captain Hayes," Lyra said softly, "I was angry when my mother first told me I must wed a human. I did not understand. I questioned the choice, questioned the purpose. But now, I see it differently. Today I am certain, not because I was told to, but because I chose to." Jason reached out, taking her hand gently. "And that choice makes it meaningful. A union not of obligation, but of respect, trust, and understanding. That is how strength is built, through choice, not decree." Lyra's heart felt lighter than it had in years. She realized that the path of tradition and duty had not been discarded. Rather, it had been transformed into something that included personal understanding and mutual respect. This was a marriage of strength, intellect, and courage, a bond that went beyond the expectations of ceremony. As the night deepened, celebrations continued throughout the city. Music, lights, and laughter filled the streets. Lyra and Jason moved, among the citizens exchanging smiles, handshakes, and words of encouragement. Every gesture reinforced the unity they represented and the hope their bond inspired. Later, in the quiet of her chambers, Lyra reflected on the journey that had led to this moment. The trials, the challenges, and even her own doubts had all been necessary steps toward understanding. Jason had proven that humans could be more than she had imagined, capable, adaptable, intelligent, and honorable. And more than that, he had earned a place not just beside her but within her trust. She looked at him, standing quietly nearby, observing her with calm eyes. "Captain Hayes," she said softly, "the future is uncertain. There will be more challenges, more tests, and perhaps dangers we cannot foresee. But I believe as long as we face them together, we will succeed." Jason stepped closer, his expression serious yet warm. "Princess Lyra, together we will face anything, not because it is easy, but because it is worth it. Your people, my people, both. Our worlds deserve that effort, and I promise to honor it." Lyra extended her hand once more. Jason took it, and in that simple gesture lay more than ceremony. It was the symbol of partnership, of trust, and of shared purpose. As the twin moons rose above Zerathia, casting a silver glow over the crystalline towers, Lyra and Jason stood, side by side. The city below celebrated, unaware of the quiet vow exchanged in the palace balcony, the vow of commitment, respect, and unity that would guide not just their lives, but the future of two worlds. And in that moment, Princess Lyra knew something she had never been certain of before. She had chosen wisely, not because tradition demanded it, not because her mother commanded it, but because she had seen the strength, courage, and honor of the human she now called her partner. The journey ahead would be long and uncertain, but together they could face anything, and that, Lyra realized, was more than enough.